You open the fridge, sniff something, and the second it smells off, it goes in the trash. You don't think about it. You don't taste it. If it smells like it's turning, it's gone. That instinct feels like common sense. But for tens of thousands of years, your ancestors did the exact opposite. They took perfectly good food, buried it in the ground, wrapped it in animal skin, and waited for it to rot on purpose. And the ones who did this survived longer, stayed healthier, and fed their families through winters that killed everyone else. So why did ancient humans deliberately let their food rot before eating it? The answer built one of the oldest technologies in human history, and it's still sitting in your fridge right now. The obvious guess is desperation. They were starving, the food went bad, and they had no choice but to eat it anyway. But that's wrong. Archaeological evidence shows these people had access to fresh food. They hunted, they gathered, they had options. The rotting was deliberate. It followed specific steps, specific timing, and specific techniques passed down across generations. They weren't eating rotten food because they had to. They were engineering it. In 2016, archaeologists digging near Solfsborg in southern Sweden uncovered something unexpected at a 9,200-year-old settlement, a massive pit packed with fish bones, close to 200,000 of them, bundled in pine bark and sealed with seal fat, then covered in wild boar skin and buried in the ground. No salt had been added to it. Salt hadn't been discovered as a preservative yet. They were placed underground to ferment. Adam Boethius, the archaeologist at Lund University who led the excavation, described it as the earliest direct evidence of food fermentation ever found. The scale was industrial, roughly 30,000 fish bones per square meter. A community was running a fermentation operation large enough to feed an entire settlement through seasons when fresh food was impossible to find. And they weren't alone. Archaeologists found 13,000-year-old residues of a fermented grain drink in a cave near Haifa, Israel. In Jiahu, China, pottery vessels dating to 7000 BCE contained traces of fermented rice, honey, and fruit. Thousands of miles away, indigenous groups in the Amazon were fermenting cassava into a drink called chicha, while in Korea, vegetables were packed into clay pots and buried underground for months. The same thing was happening in East Africa with sorghum beer. Every one of these cultures developed fermentation independently, without contact with each other. Different continents, different climates, different ingredients, and they all arrived at the same solution. A 2021 paper published in Current Anthropology by researchers at Harvard and the Max Planck Institute proposed that fermentation originally served as a form of pre-digestion. The bacteria did the work of breaking down proteins and fats before the food ever entered the human body. This made nutrients easier to absorb, eliminated dangerous pathogens, and allowed food to be stored for months instead of days. Controlled rot, passed down through generations, was the first food technology humans ever invented. But fermentation didn't just preserve food, it changed the human body from the inside. In 2021, Justin and Erica Sonnenberg at the Stanford School of Medicine ran a clinical trial with 36 adults. Half ate a diet high in fermented foods, things like yogurt, kimchi, kefir, and kombucha for 10 weeks. The other half ate a high-fiber diet. The fermented food group came back with a far more diverse gut microbiome. Their immune cells calmed down, and the levels of 19 different inflammatory proteins in their blood dropped measurably. The high-fiber group saw none of those changes. The Sonnenbergs published their findings in the journal Cell, and the implication was clear. The human gut evolved alongside fermented food. For thousands of generations, every culture on Earth was feeding its people bacteria-rich, living food as a daily staple. Kimchi in Korea, miso in Japan, injera in Ethiopia, sauerkraut in Germany, kefir in the Caucasus. Fermented food sat at the center of the diet every single day, and the gut adapted to depend on it. When modern food processing replaced fermentation with pasteurization, refrigeration, and chemical preservation, the living bacteria disappeared from the food supply almost overnight. The food lasted longer on shelves, but the gut lost the microbial diversity it had been receiving for thousands of years. The Sonnenbergs and other researchers at Stanford have connected that loss to rising rates of autoimmune conditions, chronic inflammation, and digestive disorders across industrialized countries. That jar of yogurt in your fridge, the sourdough bread on the counter, The kimchi tucked in the back of the shelf. Those aren't health trends. They are the last surviving fragments of the oldest food technology your species ever built. Your ancestors ate rotten food on purpose because their survival depended on it, and your gut is still waiting for it. That's all for today. If you want more, subscribe.